today about the project we ran, which was called Totnes Declares a Climate Emergency, What Next? So this was a project of workshops and events that ran over a couple months in the end of 2021. But what is most beautiful about this project is really what the ripples of it was and what we're still harvesting from it today. So for a bit of context, back in 2019, TTT, or Transition Town Totnes, paired with other local groups, including XR, Fridays for Future, to create a climate and ecological emergency plan for Totnes at the time when declarations were being made across the world. This brought people together to look at what local people wanted in their town and identify shared ambitions and actions. Like most declarations, this was sort of an amazing collection of wisdom, but didn't have a sort of much direction of action to follow it. So this is when we created the idea of an outward facing project to bring people together to look at the themes in the plan and try to spark ideas moving forward through facilitated workshops and support from experienced people who'd worked with Transition Town Totnes in the past. Sort of this harkened back to that wonderful ethos of transition, of just getting people together in one space and empowering them to feel like they can do stuff. It was also a new context for TTT, where we were looking outward and bringing people into transition to find connections and show the support systems that we could provide, which maybe the participants hadn't found yet. We brought in two amazing local facilitators, Alana Bloom and Tony Spencer, to hold the space, allowing for things to sort of grow organically and support conversations to grow. These aren't particularly good photos, but sorry for my last minute ditch of the presentation. So the participants were called climate champions, adequately cheesy for transition terminology. These were people who had at least some experience in community work and leadership, interpersonal skills, and an obvious alignment in some way with the values of transition. Here are some of those wonderful people. So the aims of the project were to delve a bit into what was TTT's role in a post or during pandemic world. We had been impacted in reductions of volunteer capacities. Generally, energy levels were low, and throughout the organization, there were people who were choosing this time to find new paths as well. So we had hoped for some understanding of how our role may develop or be developing. The whole aim was to see what could grow and to support it bloom. It was very experimental, so the outcomes were an exciting mystery. 3 of the projects which came out of it and are still central to TTT now are these ones: Mother Roots, Empathy Circles, and the Totnes Climate Hub. These first 2 projects sort of sit within the inner transition and well-being element of our work. The first was created by 2 women who met in the process and found a shared interest in looking at how society can harness the mothering energy as a heart of regeneration and resilience. The project sort of explores personal experiences and societal views of mothering, seeking to identify what is needed to enable this force to enhance our societal resilience in the face of an uncertain future. This started by running some workshops with organizations in the Southwest, which work with mothers to find common themes in barriers, qualities, and the gifts of mothering. This is still emergent and still growing, and they're working towards creating a program of exploring this theme further now. The second was Empathy Circles, a sort of similar project based around bringing people together in spaces held by trained counselors and psychotherapists to delve into the emotions of the climate crisis we find ourselves in a supported and a safe space. Empathy Circles sort of create mutual understandings and connection by ensuring feelings are fully heard, and aims to foster more healthy, caring cultures. This is an international practice, but not something officially run in Totnes before. And the third on the right is the Totnes Climate Hub. And some of you may be aware of the Climate Emergency Centre networks, which also emerged since the climate emergency declarations, by identifying local spaces, so rooms, buildings, which can be transformed into a public space for community-led action. The aim is to find or provide ways for people into climate action, whether that is education, signposting to resources, making personal connections in the space, and working with what's already going on locally and helping people find a way in and finding avenues of making positive next steps wherever they are at in their own relationship with the climate crisis. And the Climate Hub is now open. It's begun flourishing. We're running some events in this great big Green Week coming up. We have energy advisors giving their time to talk to members of the public every Wednesday. We've had a local organisations use the space for meetings, and as well as having members of the council come to use the space to explain what's going on at a local government level. This was an idea that had been raised in the Totnes plan originally, but during the Climate Champions project, 2 participants came together on this idea, and using the wisdom from all the TTT members, created a business plan to set up a crowdfunding campaign, which has been able to fund the hub as it now runs. The emergence of these 3 brilliant and diverse projects showed us that TTT has a mentoring role to create intergenerational spaces for people newer to climate action to find support and tools to act. What we learned was that there's a wealth of amazing people and energy out there to create change. And this was maybe even bolder through the pandemic as people were looking at what really inspired them. Many people raised feelings of worry that their inexperience in the climate action area was holding them back. And it also showed us that sometimes it was holding people back from engaging with us, and they wouldn't have engaged with us were it not for this process. One other lesson was that the fruits of the project took longer to harvest than we expected. So things took longer and we did overspend. So that was the main challenge we came up against. However, that's really nothing in the scope of the long-lasting growth and ripples of the project and the excitement in transition Town Totnes from this relatively small and experimental project was able to create. Thank you very much.